Let me ask you a question. You just heard something extremely controversial and your kids or parents, they say one thing, but the news on TV, they say the completely opposite thing. Who would you believe? Will it be your very own relatives or state-dictated narrative? If you want, you can even pause this video and let us know in the comments your answer to this question. But I will not be surprised if the vast majority of us selects to believe people we know. And this makes sense, right? I mean, why would anyone believe propaganda more than their own relatives? But let me tell you what, that's not always the case. And unfortunately, I personally experienced the way propaganda splits families apart. What's up, investors? It's the Russian Dude, and this is my story. Believe it or not, eventually propaganda gets everyone. Some people fall for it sooner, while for the others it might take years. But if you're exposed to it 24/7 and you have absolutely no other perspectives to look into it, slowly but surely you start to believe. Because one of the main things about propaganda is that it unconditionally supports only one side of a story, while at the same time it recklessly turns down anything that comes into its way, calling it misinformation, delusion, or fake news. And it doesn't even matter if all the facts are there to support this other truth. Unfortunately, I do have some relatives who changed their attitude towards me just because I went to study in this greedy and capitalistic America. Because simply this is what TV tells them to do. America is the root for all evils for Russia. America is the enemy. And even though we used to be extremely close when I was a kid, just me studying there for 2 years made them start looking at me like I'm just some kind of traitor to the motherland. But that's not even close how bad the influence of propaganda can get. So I'm sure that some of you already know that a big part of my family are Ukrainians. And as soon as this war started back in February, some of my Russian family members started actually hating them. And I'm not gonna tell you who they are because I still love them, but no, these are not my parents. So anyways, we have these Russian and Ukrainian family members who used to be extremely close in the past. They were calling each other every single week, visiting each other, basically the normal family stuff you do. But fast forward to these days and the situation changed completely. The very same Russian family members, they now think that my Ukrainian relatives are actually Nazis. They even think that they were killing their fellow Ukrainians back in 2014. And every single time my Ukrainian uncle sends them pictures and videos of bombings that literally happen next to his city, the response of Russians is that it all well deserved, is that your country needs to be denazified. I mean, just think about how ridiculous is this. Ukrainians who live right there and see with their own eyes all these shootings and bombings, they cannot prove Russians that it is their soldiers bombing Ukrainian cities. And the reason for this, it is because Russian TV tells them that these are Ukrainians who are killing Ukrainians. I mean, it sounds absurd, but this is exactly what's happening right now. People prefer to believe a person on TV who they never met rather than their own relatives who they spend the majority of their lives together. Propaganda is an extremely powerful weapon which targets the very conscious and minds of people. And unlike actual physical war, it happens every single day and can be easily manipulated with just one person. But how do you then escape propaganda? The easiest way is to travel around, meet different people and experience different cultures. In other words, is to be open-minded. You should always acknowledge both sides of one story, listen to different opinions, and only after that you can decide for yourself what you want to believe. But to be honest, even this might not be enough. Propaganda can get to such levels of absurd when these people who already live abroad, they constantly complain how they don't like it there and they always dream about coming back. So my question to these people would be the following. Why do you continue living in this country with this attitude? Why don't you just come back? And the answer is, it is because deep inside they understand that this place place is most likely better for their own future and the future of their kids. But they still refuse to acknowledge this because propaganda tells them otherwise. And apparently it has much stronger influence than their own experience, which they see with their very own eyes. People like this would believe an unknown person who tells them exactly what they want to hear more than themselves. So it obviously means that there's absolutely no place in their hearts for people on the other side of their truth, including their friends and relatives.